considering that this conflict has gone on for the last couple of weeks, my question to you is more from a global perspective. Do you think the world understands exactly what's happening in the subcontinent at this point? And do they also kind of remember that Osama bin Laden was found in Pakistan? And is that a thought bubble for the rest of the world?
So, like I said, first of all, I think there's a lack of understanding, and the lack of understanding comes from a lack of access. And the lack of access comes because India, their policy is why should we justify ourselves to the world? We are a great power. We are a superpower in not just the region, but globally. We have had this bipartisan relationship with the United States for 25 years. We are, a power in the region that the United States wants to partner with to counter China, for example. But I think what was quite extraordinary when we saw President Trump put out that statement on Truth Social and said, there is a ceasefire, both sides have spoken, and now I think that they should make a deal on Kashmir. That is something that India would have felt angry because they're feeling, and I don't want to speak on behalf of India, but my understanding and reading is that we are not on equal footings. We are a great power. Pakistan is a much weaker power. We don't want other great powers tangled up in our backyard. We want to deal with our issues ourselves. And Pakistan feels, well, we are a weaker nation, we're a smaller nation, therefore we want other great powers. We want China tangled up here. We want the United States tangled up, and so this sort of complexity isn't fully grasped, I don't think, by the US president who came out and said that. I don't think Western audiences fully understand. And for me, why I believe it matters is because when a state is a state sponsor of terrorism and was on a grey list and Osama bin Laden was discovered there, if the West doesn't hold the state accountable, and when Osama bin Laden in 2012 was discovered just a stone throw away from a military headquarters and base, the CIA director at the time said either Pakistan was complicit or it was incompetent. And at the time, the ISI pleaded incompetence. They would rather say we didn't know that he was right there than say, yes, sure, we were aware and we let him stay there and we harbored him and we backed him. And the fact that at that point in time, Barack Obama and the United States didn't hold Pakistan accountable. In the dead of night, they sent Navy SEALs to the country to take out Osama bin Laden and didn't inform their ally Pakistan and their partner Pakistan in the war on terror that we're doing this because they were so worried that the operation would fall apart, that somehow Osama bin Laden would be tipped off and that he wouldn't be there when the Navy SEALs got there, tells you everything about what conversations were being had behind closed doors. If they didn't understand it then, the role of the ISI, and they still continue to give them billions of dollars, I don't think they can understand it now.
Yeah, some key points I wish to bring up. Again, I think that if the world doesn't sit up and take notice of everything that's happening in Pakistan, it's a matter of time before we see another global terror attack at the scale of everything that happened in 2001 and the early 2000s. It has become a terror hub for the world. It's just that in India, we know about the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, because the terrorist attacks are targeted towards us. But the nature of terrorism is such that eventually it's not going to be limited to one target country. It has the potential to spread all across the globe. And India's main narrative to the world is, hey, we are a GDP that's 11 times the size of Pakistan because we're focused on our own economy, we're focused on job creation, we're focused on building businesses. We don't want a war, but we will retaliate. That's the narrative that India wants to tell the world. That we don't want to be the aggressors here. We're simply retaliating. But we're hoping that the world listens, not just for our sake, but for their own sake as well. terror is the enemy of humanity, not just the enemy of India.
Yeah, I think that first of all, I think the nature of Indian media from the Western perspective, when they look out, there is a lot of like breaking news headlines, and there's a lot of flashy headlines that I think is different to the way in which, and that's the style of Indian journalism and Indian media. But I do think that it's really important to, in a thoughtful way, in an impartial way, tell the story of your country and your understanding of its role in geopolitics, in the region, in the wider international community, and why India matters for Western capitals around the world. I mean, you look at the top CEOs in the United States, they're all Indian nationals. They're all have a connection to India. They all were either born in India or, of Indian background and heritage. So I do think it's important that that connection is made with the West, the understanding of India's role in the world. And to your point that, India's objective is not necessarily to be at war. India's objective is to export talent to the world and retain talent so that it can become, this hub of technology and growth in the region.
Yeah. The other thing that you mentioned about President Trump saying that he was responsible for the ceasefire was met with a lot of backlash in India, especially, mainly because Pakistan broke the ceasefire an hour after President Trump's announcement. And we also kind of feel that the USA didn't have any role in this whole conflict. I know that Pakistan was supported by China. So you would assume that because America and China are currently in the middle of what I believe is like Cold War Part 2, you would assume that America would have helped India, but there was no help given to us. This is one of the other narratives that the world should know, because I noticed that even on Pierce's show, he positioned America like it was the big brother in this whole situation. But the truth is, there was nothing that President Trump said that affected this situation.
I guess, we know that President Trump operates in a transactional manner. He operates in the kind of art of the deal foreign policy. So he saw this as two equals fighting over a territory and come up with the solution. I'll help you, was his response, without fully grasping and understanding the history, the background, the nature of this conflict. And it's not just about Kashmir being a flashpoint, but at whether it's the Indian Parliament being attacked, whether it's the Mumbai terror attacks, whether it's various other military installations being targeted and attacked, and then civilians being killed in Pahalgam. There is a kind of a lack of understanding, or frankly, attention on this situation at all from the Western capitals. And so I think that's where it's come from. And unfortunately, in the art of the deal foreign policy approach, you do end up screwing over your friends. And while Delhi and Washington are friends, and Washington sees Delhi as a reliable partner, perhaps, in the region and for itself, and to counter China in this rivalry, at the end of the day, Donald Trump is thinking, I need this situation to be resolved. They're two nuclear armed nations. I don't need another war blowing up. I'm going to tell them both to stop. And I think that was the approach. And perhaps India then at that point is thinking, A, this isn't your war, and B, we can handle it ourselves here. And C, why are you putting us on equal footings was my take on how India responded.
Yeah, I think you've got it fairly right.
I guess what I would say is that the whole idea of India, a nation of 1.4 billion people, again, it goes back to the point that it is a massive democracy, the oldest democracy, the biggest democracy on the planet. And that is perhaps what people don't fully grasp and understand. There are election cycles, and we're always in awe of, oh, wow, look at the way India has conducted their elections in terms of like 1.4 billion people going to the polls from all across the country. And those are the moments we tap into India and sort of think, oh, this is quite extraordinary what it's done. But I guess it's how you present yourself to the international community, its relevance in geopolitics.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.